afternoon, or good morning, wherever you guys are watching this from. My name is Leia. Welcome to episode one of my podcast, Lit Between the Lines. And today I have a special guest, which is my best friend, Janet.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here on the first episode. I'm excited.
So today we're going to go ahead and discuss and have a little book talk. It's going to be a free talk. We're going to talk about what we think about books, movie adaptations, from book to movie adaptations, like pretty much just a casual talk of what we think about certain books. But, wherever you guys are watching, hearing this, go ahead and sit down, enjoy, grab a little snack, whatever you guys want, and just listen to us. All right, bestie. So to begin with, are you ready? What do you think about today's discussion?
I'm excited. I've actually been obsessed. I'm just going to jump right into it. I've been obsessed with this book called A Little Life. I'm going to be honest, where I came across it. I was on TikTok scrolling.
Okay, we love TikTok.
Exactly. I'm, deep into a rabbit hole. I don't know how long I was scrolling for. I was just in it. Came across someone reading it, and it was their reaction to it, and they were bawling their eyes out. And I was like, there's no way.
Bawling their eyes out?
Bawling their eyes. Like, full-blown tears.
That's
I think
peculiar.
I saw mucus. I'm like, is this person really crying over a book?
I don't know. What was going on, girl?
I was confused. I was like, what is this? So what I did is I took my little happy self and I was like, let me Google it. Let me see what it is about. So I read the synopsis. And I was intrigued. So I was like, let me do like the free trial on Audible.
What is it about?
So it's
for the audience that maybe is not hearing it.
Who has
Let's
not.
see the name of the book first.
Yeah, it's A Little Life. It's a hefty book. I'm not gonna lie to you. It took me a week to read.
By who? That's interesting.
Hanya? Is that how you would pronounce that?
Hanya Yanahara, I believe. Okay.
Yeah, so I think this is like her third book, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay,
she has quite a few. And it's about 4 friends that are all really connected based on one character whose name is Jude and his entire life story. And let me tell you, that girl was crying for a reason because it's a devastating book.
I'm usually not a big fan of devastating books, but maybe that should be in my book shelf.
I would add it. I really would, because it was so sad. And I was like, this would be a good book to turn into a movie, is what I thought.
So would you say that this book for you would be a book you will recommend for those that are more into the soppy, sad stories, for a good cry? See, I'm not a big fan of books that make people cry or make anything like that.
Really?
Yeah, just because the fact that it's very energy driven and of the fact that by what I mean by energy driven, it's draining, as you stated, So for me, it's more of a little bit of upbeat thrillers. Okay. But for those that are looking for something that they want to cry for, anything else you want to say about the book?
For sure, I would just go off what you said. If you are not a fan of sad stories, stay away from this, because from beginning to end, it's sad. No way around it. You're going to cry. I think I started crying in the first 10 pages. Continue to cry throughout the 300 and whatever. So if you don't like sad books, don't even pick it up.
Oh no.
It's just gonna
it's
gonna make you really sad.
Do you want to tell us a little bit more about what's the reason it'll make someone cry?
Well, it does, trigger warning for anyone who is listening. It does deal with mental illness, specifically depression, and just trying to overcome that throughout your entire life. And it also has a few other really dark topics that it does do a good job of explaining them in a really nice, gentle way, and it's not aggressive or anything like that. So it's a for sure a very heavy book. So I do recommend it though, because it is very nicely written, despite the heavy topics that are uncovered.
I think that's actually really good that certain books deal with or kind of indulge in topics like depression, just because there's a lot of books that do dive into it and pretty much leave things out into interpretation. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of sad books.
Yeah, you're more like a mystery person.
Yeah. More of like a thriller, mystery. A little bit of suspension here and there. For me, a book that I recently read, it was not any suspense, mystery, or thrillers. You know, I kind of like was in that moment, you know me already, bestie.
Yeah.
I was in that moment where I was like, you know what, I'm going to give that mystery theme a little bit of a break. I'm going to go and read something a little into the love, because I felt like I was kind of like not reading any love story.
You were struck by the love bug.
I mean, not really, but you know, but we need to give a break of reading sad murder stories, you know. But yeah, I was reading, you know, how Colleen Hoover is so big. Apparently, it's a big name right now in New York Times, you know. So I was like, let's give Colleen Hoover a little bit of try, because I had already recently read one of her books, Ugly Love, and I was really passionate about it. It's a very steamy book. It was a very
oh, I love steamy books.
It's a turning pager where I was like, ooh, I want to continue knowing more. So I was like, let's give her a try again, because why not? She kind of like made me sink my teeth into that book. So whatever.
So you expected.
I had expectation.
Yeah, you had high hopes.
Yes, and you know when it comes down to like reading an author you really love, and I think that's when as readers, when we read a book that we really love, I think it sets very high expectations for us readers to grab the next author's book and be like, they have to write a book like this.
Yeah, because you've already seen how what they're capable of. So you have to match the next book.
Oh, girl, if you only know that Colleen Hoover disappointed me.
Oh, no.
For those of you listening, let me talk about Colleen Hoover's books. Confess. Let's talk about Confess, guys, because I don't know if you guys have read it, but I'm pretty sure there's people out there that are gonna agree with me and say that Confess is the most horrible book, because it literally sucks. You know, like I was stating earlier, you know, I have high expectations of her.
Yeah.
I simply just couldn't finish it.
Really?
I did not finish the epilogue.
Really?
And you know me, I like to read my books beginning to end.
Yeah.
But this book, let me tell you, best friend, this book, I read it. I was like driven to read it because I was like, okay, maybe, you know, I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
The book is gonna get better, because come on now, it's Colleen Hoover. She can't disappoint me.
Some books are like slow burns.
Yes,
you have to like get a few chapters in. Yeah.
And let me tell you, girl, Colleen Hoover did not do it for me. She just did not do it to me. I don't know what she was thinking. I don't know if maybe she was having one of those days or one of those
writer's block.
Yeah, maybe she wasn't having it. She was maybe under pressure. But girl, none of her characters were relatable. None of her characters were memorable.
Oh.
I didn't care about one single character. And you know, as a reader, there has to be someone you care about,
that you root for,
that you root for, someone that you despise. But no, this book was just simply, I don't care about any of you guys.
Oh.
Like the main characters, I even forgot her name. I think Ava. No, not even Ava. I forgot her name. But I still remember the dude's name. His name was Owen. You know, and you always root for like the sexy hot boy in a romantic story, because you know something about them is just like, I want you.
They're supposed to be like the perfect man.
Girl, Owen did not do it for me.
Really?
Yes, he didn't.
And he's the main character.
Yeah, he's one of the main characters. Okay. Yeah, he's one of the main characters. He's supposed to be the love interest of the main character, but he just did not do it for me. Not any single character. I mean, not to be a spoilers for those that probably want to read the book, but it's about this girl who was dealing with civil issues. She has a kid.
Oh, okay. Single mom.
Yeah, single mom, but she doesn't have custody. So I think you can already see how the story unravels.
Yeah.
A very cynical, what do you call it? Mother-in-law.
Yeah.
So it was just not giving. Like, and no character was memorable to me.
Would you say it was too predictable?
I would say it was too predictable and too I would say it was too much. It was too quick.
Okay.
Because, like, in my head, I was like, how is this girl gonna go and work for this guy just one day, and they already started feeling each other? I said, like, for example, you have a studio,
Yeah.
and I go to your art studio, and I'm like, oh, I saw a sign that you were looking for someone to hire. Is it okay? Is this position still open? Let's say that you hire me, and then you like my work ethic, and you start thinking, and like your intrusive thoughts start telling you, like, oh, I love how she works, like she's very, like, etc. And
Yeah.
that whole, like, unrealistic love. So he took her on a date.
Yeah.
They had drinks, and then he started feeling
And they
on.
instantly.
Yeah, apparently. And to me, that just felt so unrealistic, because, like, come on now.
It's kind of giving me like the Hallmark movies. Like they're cheesy, a
Yeah.
lot of how do you say it? A lot of like too on the nose, too accurate.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was just not for me. I think if I were to talk about maybe like for example, would you say there's a better book then that's kind of similar to the one I just described?
Oh, okay. Well, honestly, when you started describing, like, oh, it's kind of a steamy book, I thought of, like, 50 Shades of Grey. I think that's, like, the only successful, book franchise that I would say gathered a really large audience.
I'm gonna go ahead and jump on that ship once you start talking a little bit or
Okay.
diving a little bit deeper into it. Like, tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
the book, about those that perhaps maybe haven't heard about 50 Shades of Grey.
Well, basically, I think it also helped that it was multiple books. I think if the author would have kept it to one book, she would have had the same issue as Colleen had, which is it moved too fast. Basically, it's this girl. She meets a millionaire, one of those two, and they end up falling in love, and like a whole bunch of other like action, chaotic stuff happens and unfolds. But I think I connected those two just because it's like you have someone that had no interest in being in a relationship, being in love or whatever, and then fell in love, and it was like this very like high stakes romance almost. Was that sort of how yours was, like high stakes or
I
no?
wouldn't say high stakes just because well, if we can forget maybe about Confess, I can possibly talk about a book that's kind of similar where I was just going to go ahead and jump, piggyback right for the books that you're talking about, specifically because you said steamy.
Yeah.
I think a good book that I can compare 50 Shades of Grey with would be the fan fiction After.
Okay.
Because that book was similar to 50 Shades of Grey, but in a different sense where the main character was not a billionaire. So in a sense, when you were reiterating your question about what was it again? Would I have high stakes?
Yeah.
You stated. I think for me, 50 Shades of Grey and After kind of go back together. Because it also has the same formula where it's like the bad boy and this girl who's yeah. And then it's like a chaotic relationship where it's like steamy, but on top of that, there's fights as to why they shouldn't be together or little history as to why they're just not gonna work out.
Yeah.
I think they're both similar. Of course, I personally didn't read 50 Shades of Grey.
Okay.
I was more of that fan fiction After by Anna Todd.
And there was more than one book.
Yes, so it's also like a little series, just like
Okay.
50 Shades of Grey.
So then I think, would you say, which one was the one that you didn't like again? What was
Colleen Hoover called After.
Af-
No, After Confess. Sorry.
Confess. So do you feel like if she would have had more than, like if she would have turned it into a series, it would have been a better story? Or do you think in general, the whole thing, the characters, everything, wasn't worth it?
I honestly feel that maybe if she had done a little series of Confess, maybe it would have worked out.
Yeah.
But I feel like this book for her was rushed.
Oh, okay.
Just because, like, there's nothing memorable about it. Maybe, like you stated, if she had turned it into, like, at least a mini-series with 3 books at least.
Yeah.
Or at least a book following up this book. I feel like maybe we would have a little bit more background. Because, honestly, in this book, we don't even get introduced to the the main character's parents. We don't know nothing about her family. We don't know nothing about her mom. So it's kind of like those characters don't exist in her world.
Yeah.
So it's more so just the little, what do you call them? Little
snippets of
snippets.
it. Yeah. Just enough to push the story along.
Yeah, like,
but not enough to like satisfy the reader.
I would say it had like it's chess players, honestly.
Okay.
Like only the little main characters that matter. Kind of like if you were to write a screenplay, it would honestly be the most shortest screenplay because you have the main character, Owen, the ex-boyfriend, the ex-boyfriend's brother, the policeman, the mother-in-law, the roommate, and then the son. These are like, what, 6, 7 characters? Those are pretty much the only characters that matter. Except the guy from the bar that's in the book as well, who's also like, has this little small moments, but I would say he's more like a background character. But then being introduced to only 7 characters kind of like lets you know about like what kind of book it is. Doesn't really have enough depth. So maybe if she had pushed for a second book, I think characters would matter.
Yeah.
But no, it just didn't do it for me.
Oh, okay. Well, that is very interesting. I don't think I've ever fully read a book that I wasn't satisfied with the storytelling or the character building or the world building. Like, I've had books where I do struggle to read because of like the writing style. But for me to be like, oh, I don't like the world, I don't think I've ever come across one. At least not yet. Maybe one day.
Well, for me, for example, how about a book that maybe that you say you didn't like? Because I know there has to be a book that you didn't like. Would it be maybe a book that we read in a book club?
Let's see. I'm trying to. What do you know?
No, I don't remember the name of it, but maybe no, right?
I don't think so, cause like when we were in the book club.
Or maybe a book we read like in high school that you were like,
The only book that I could, like the top of my head that I could think of that I struggled reading with was Pride and Prejudice.
Okay, makes sense. I mean,
but I think that's just because of the old English writing.
Where you just gave up on it completely.
I tried 3 times, could not get through it. To this day, I still want to read it, and I can't. But yeah. But
yeah,
like
I would agree.
A bad book, I mean, at least right now I can't think of one. If I do, you know, I'll text you and be like, hey, I figured it out.
But I mean, to almost wrap up our podcast, because we're almost at time, I think a book that we both shared and we eternally love, it's going to be a book by F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Great Gatsby. I think that is one of the greatest books that F. Scott perhaps might have wrote, because I know there's probably more books out there that are much better, but
of course,
you know, you have the OG, The Great Gatsby.
Yeah,
and
you can't go wrong with that one.
You can never go wrong.
It has everything. It has drama, it has thrill. It's beautifully written. It's an American classic for a reason.
Yeah, definitely. Would you say there's a favorite character of yours that you really enjoy from The Great Gatsby or that you relate to?
Relate, I would say, personally, I think I'm Nick Carraway.
Okay,
but
why?
You know, I just feel like I'm a very impartial witness in a lot of the things that unfold in my life. And as I look at your face, I see you don't agree with that.
I don't agree with that. I don't know, maybe because I've never really seen you be Nick Carraway in a situation. Maybe I have, but maybe because I'm not present, but maybe, you know, maybe you are.
Yeah. Okay, who would you assign me?
I would probably say you're Daisy, because you could be a little cynical.
Oh my. Well, I would say quickly, you have to be Miss Myrtle Turtle.
I don't agree with that. I really don't agree with that.
She had a sense of style.
Well, yeah.
Despite
she did.
everything that unfolded.
Yeah, definitely.
That girl liked her fashion.
She loved the riches. She knew what Tom was giving her. Unfortunately, Dad gave her untimely demise. But you know, we're always going to have a special heart for Myrtle Turtle. Because she was just a girl that just seeked an opportunity, saw one.
She saw an opportunity and took it. You can't blame her for that.
Yep, we can. So I can't blame her for that. Yeah. I think it was very sad that she passed. And I find it so, and I feel like F. Scott Fitzgerald knew what he was doing.
Yes, definitely.
By Daisy being the one, the perpetrator.
Mm-hmm. Accidental death to the mistress. Mm-hmm. What a genius idea. Because you can't blame her. No. But if she knew, she would be happy about it.
Oh, definitely. If Daisy knew she ran over the mistress,
she would have been jumping for joy.
Yeah, she definitely would have. So that, to me, must have been the most. I think that was the most. To me, I think at that moment, I felt like it was the mostly beautifully written. Mm-hmm. Because as a reader, you wouldn't have expected that Daisy was going to be her perpetrator.
Literally. And everything was a domino effect in the climax of that
But then
story.
I think about it now that you say that. And I think it's so funny that I'm finally realizing it. But I find it so ironic or such a foreshadow that, remember that apartment scene where Myrtle kept screaming, Daisy, 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 Daisy?
Yeah.
I felt like that's a foreshadow right there to who
was gonna kill her, murder her. Oh, look at that. Years later, we're still analyzing it.
Yeah.
I love it. If you haven't read it, read it.
Yes, you guys really have to. It's amazing. But yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed today's little small 20-minute podcast of us. Of Lit Between the Lines. I really hope that you guys can tune in next time. Please let us know what you guys want to listen to next time. And yeah, Bestie, anything you would like to say?
Well, thank you so much. I'm honored. And yeah, always listen to Lit Between the Lines.
There you go. There you have it. Have a great day, guys.